It's New Year's Day. I'm in my second year of college and living in a second-story apartment a block off Brady, a street that is still known for its hip bars and coffee shops. Before dawn, I'm awakened by the ringing of my phone. It is my sister. I need you to come to Columbia Hospital now. Now? What's wrong? I ask. It's Timmy. She holds back tears. You shouldn't drive. Dad will pick you up. My stomach turns, knowing something terrible has happened. I assume Timmy has been in a car accident. A drunk driver may have hit him. During the summer, I would spend whole weeks at Timmy's house. His mother, my aunt and godmother. Timmy, a much better athlete than I, we still played baseball, kickball, and basketball together. And with the Chicago Cubs hat glued to his head, we traded baseball cards. We biked in the parkway and jumped off a rope swing into the brown, stagnant waters of Milwaukee River. He invited me to my first party with girls. A cousin, but more like a cool older brother. We arrive at the hospital rather quickly. I walk into the waiting room, the bad art on the walls. Much of my extended family is in tears. A social worker thinks it would be good if I see Timmy. And I'm led into a room with a stainless steel table and a white sheet covers him. His younger brother kneeling on the ground, holding the 21-year-old's hand, sobbing in disbelief, begging for life to return. Tim had tragically and unexpectedly died from cardiac arrhythmia. So young, so much life ahead of him, so unfair. He was out with friends on New Year's Eve. He barely had drank a beer, and all of a sudden the signal from his brain to tell his heart to beat just wasn't there. He died before the paramedics could even arrive. My family offers me a ride back to my apartment, but instead I choose to walk alone. The streets are stained with salt. Each block, the bitter cold creeps more and more into my own soul. I am unprepared for these wintry winds. In between the unbelief and belief, I have a sense of regret that I had not spent more time with him. I ask for time off work. I keep to myself. I ponder a deeper, more authentic faith, a faith that can overcome tragic death. I believe I will see him again. Hope resurrects in my heart. The funeral is standing room only. The Lutheran pastor parts the young sea of people sitting on the ground. I sing a song, and for a few moments, I am freed of the grief. The pastor's remarks are terrible, even soulless. It was a good thing that Timmy died, he said, because he'll never have to go through all the pain and agony of this life. He then proceeded to list all the horrible things of living. He is now in heaven with God, he concludes. But Timmy wasn't going through much pain at all. He was genuinely happy. And what about all the baseball games? What about the music? What about the life he won't live anymore? What about the Arctic cold that made a hole right here, right now in our own souls? The pastor's words took me from grief to anger. Couldn't he come up with something better than that? A few good words about Timmy, the person, perhaps. Maybe acknowledge our grief and pain just a little. I had already felt a calling to ministry at that time, but upon hearing this really bad message, I knew I was already a better minister than this guy. Over 23 years have now passed. And that painful New Year's and the days that followed have never quite left me. That is not to say that I still think about Timmy all the time. In fact, months, even years go by and I don't think of him. But Timmy's life and death will be forever found in the dark tomb of my own soul. I wish Timmy were still here. I treasured the freedom and the sense of coolness that I experienced about just being around him. We should be reminiscing about how many times we watched the movie Major League and memorized so many parts of it, or how we played Nintendo until the dawn. I want to hear his stories when he played in the University of Minnesota marching band. I want our children to play together. So this is difficult for me to say, even now, so many years later. I'm glad this all happened, because Timmy's death and life was the greatest gift that I have ever been given. So I stand here in gratitude to Timmy for introducing me to the great unfairness of dying young, for the inability to say goodbye, and for teaching me how to live again. Thank you, Timmy, for cleansing me of my want to live forever and for dawning hope in me. When you're going through pain, the last thing you want to look for is the silver lining. This takes a lot of time, of course. Facing the reality of pain is part of the grieving process. Acceptance is a major part, and this is the hardest part. When you come to the conclusion that you are better off for it, and when you can say, I'm not only glad, but grateful that it happened, and I wouldn't be the same person without it, that is when you know you are through a traumatic event, though it may still stay with you forever, like a birthmark. Once we can turn something horrible into ripe blueberries, dawn breaks in us. All we may want are the positive emotions like joy and hope and love. But I will tell you this, the darkest hours bring the most glorious colors of dawn. I would not trade that New Year's for any other day of my life. But still today, I ask why. That great existential one-word supplication. Why? Oh, great expanding universe. Oh, why? Unanswerable life. I petition you, why the pain before a child is born? Yahweh, the Hebrew personal name for God. Tell me now, why the dark before the dawn? Why does light open to us during the sweet surrenders of the break? These moments, these times can become reboots and resets if we stay open to them, if we let them break us. New life dawns. No matter your theological certitude, that's you, Lutheran pastor. No matter how much you think humans can become masters of the universe, controlling things with pavement and sewers and curbs, moments of tragedy, trauma, and pain can bring us to the realization of our own frailty, our own fragility, that we have control over very little. Yet in the experience of total, utter darkness, we can experience the feeling of absolute dependence. Like the smallness we feel when we look up at the dark sky and notice the stars and realize our place in the belly of things. These moments of deep grief and trauma that rock us to the core, strip us of all frivolous meanderings and reduce us to our rightful place of uncertainty, which connects us to all of humanity and really all of life. We evolved to find meaning in the dark. We emerged to wake to the singing of dawn. We want to be sure of our destinations and in control of our careers, but life has a way to break us out of these unrealistic ruts. Horrible hospital moments happen. They take some sort of participation and trust in the webbed process of life, hope in the ground of what is, and faith in the feeling of absolute dependence. When unfair darkness happens, it takes art, it takes music, it takes nature, time alone, time with friends, therapy, community, and church to come to some level of acceptance. And while acceptance is huge, it is not the end. The cycles of dawn, dark, and dusk, the earth moving rhythmically, the old, the new, the dead, the living, the young, the dark, the dawn, the summer, the winter, they are all intertwined. And if you are going through some tragic illness, a death, a career setback, a divorce, grieving, or if you just feel mortally rejected, all I can say is after the twilight, amidst the darkest hours, the dawn does come. The deep dark can lead us to a sense of acceptance, hope, peace, and gratitude. We can find the silvery lining in the dark black bears of life running after us. Every circumstance, no matter how complex, challenging, and frustrating, contains positive fruit that should be noticed, nurtured, embraced, picked, and eaten. So tumble the shadows into dawn. Bring the morning out of night. Dawn, break in us. Let us ever be present to how the great darkness cradles the dawn. The joyous colors of dawn come out of darkness. So take this heart and make it break. Take this dark and make a dawn. Amen, and blessed be.